What's going on? This is Bourbon and Ball. We got Week 12 matchups, Week 12 streamers, hitters, pitchers. You're not going to want to miss this because there's some really good sleepers that we got coming for you today on Bourbon and Ball. All right, I am Doug coming to you from Foxborough, Mass, along with my lifelong friend down there coming from Clearwater, Florida, Mikey V. This is Bourbon and Ball. This is Week 12. Week 12, we're talking matchups for pitchers, for hitters. We're talking some really good sleepers. And, of course, we're going to bring you some really nice injury updates. Some good, some not so good, especially if you're from the Boston area. Little drop.
Ooh. Wonder what you're hitting at there.
I know. So let's start with pitchers. Let's run down the list there. There's some pretty good names on there. I think they're all must starts. Let me run through them real quick. And Mikey, I'd love to get your opinion on some of these. So I got Philly starting pitcher. I got Zach Wheeler. Monday, he's at home in Miami. Sunday, he's at home versus the Mets. Glad to see. I think he's back to his old form after last year's scare. 5-1 on the year, 56 innings pitched, 53 strikeouts, a 2.22 ERA. He's giving you 16.2 points a start, 146 points. His last start, no decision, in Toronto, still got you 11 points, 1 earned, 6 innings, quality start. I think outside of that Dodgers start he had probably 2 starts ago, that start saw him give up about 4 earned. He got the loss. But other than that, he's got 7 quality starts out of the last 8. And I think next week he'll probably have 2 more, especially pitching at home. Listen, he's on a roll, 4-1 in his last 6 starts, 35 strikeouts, 39 innings, and just 6 walks in 6 starts. Great stats. Next up, we got Yankees starting pitcher Gerrit Cole, Tuesday versus the White Sox. That's going to be at home in Yankee Stadium. Same thing on Sunday. He's going to be at home in Yankee Stadium versus the Reds. This, to me, is more like a gamble, but it's a gamble I'd kind of be willing to take. Similar to Wheeler, both starts are home. I don't know, it's hit or miss, right? 1-1 on the year, 22 innings pitched, 18 strikeouts, 6 walks, 37 points, 9.4 a start. His last start, that was in Cleveland against the Guardians. Saw him go just 4 innings, 4 Ks, 2 earned, 3.92 points. Again, this is something we're expected from him. He's missed so much time. He's not going to be perfect every outing. He's just not. Still hits upper 90s. Looks more to be rust than anything, so I don't think it's a velocity issue. Might be obviously with rust location. But these 2 matchups on paper, they look juicy good. And I think we can all agree that Guardians team that we talked about, that scrappy, which is why we listed him on the tough matchups last week. But, again, he's at home. No Murakami, no Cruz. I will say White Sox have been playing good, which is fun for baseball. But here's an interesting fact. Their away record is 14-20 versus 22-11 at home. Same thing with the Reds. They're on last place. They're playing under 500. They have no Cruz. So I think the matchup on paper is in Gerrit Cole's favor. Next up, I think one of the hottest pitchers in baseball right now, can we say it? Mariners starting pitcher Bryce Miller. He's playing Friday. He's at home versus a Boston Red Sox team that just looks flat. They got crushed by Tampa Bay, 13 strikeouts, by Drew Rossman. I mean, listen, he's having a great year. He's striking out a batter an inning, ERA well under 2, averaging 12 points a start. He looks great. On the other side of that, I just talked about the Red Sox offense. They look horrible. They're playing under 500. No more you can really say about that team. Unfortunately, coming from Boston, that's a tough sell. Next up, Dodgers starting pitcher Shohei Ohtani. Tuesday, he's playing Tampa Bay. He's playing at home. The real question is going to be, is this guy really going to win the Cy Young? I think he has a great case. His numbers don't lie. 6-2, 67 innings pitched, 73 strikeouts, a 1.06 ERA. He's giving you 18 points per start. That's insane. No decision last start. That was in Pittsburgh. He gave up 3 earned. That's the most he's given up in all his starts, which was 11 of them. I mean, also, in his last 11 starts, or I should say all his 11 starts, he has not gone 6 innings only once. He has 10 quality starts out of the 11. He's gone at least 6 and 10 out of his 11 starts, which is it's crazy. I do like Tampa Bay, the grit, all that good stuff. Ohtani, though, he's at home. He should play. I know he's day-to-day with that injury, I think, for his left knee. But they said it was more of just a safety precaution to remove him. He should be good to go. He might even be in the lineup this weekend. So I would just roll him out there, have him pitch against Tampa Bay. I like that. And last but not least, we're sticking with the Yankees. We're going with Cam Slittler Friday at home versus the Reds. What a year for the Slit man, right? 73, 82 innings pitched, 89 strikeouts, a 1.87 ERA, 14.7 a start. He's a top 10 starting pitcher. Last couple starts, hasn't gone 6 innings, got roughed up. The same Guardians team that Cole just did, like we just mentioned, right? Went 4 1/3, 3 strikeouts, 4 earned, took the loss. But like I said about the Reds earlier, playing under 500, you got to like the matchup at home versus a cruiseless lineup. It looks like a win, all right? And let's just not forget, just a few weeks ago, they lost 5 in a row. They haven't won a series since they played the Mets 2 weeks ago. And I'm talking about the Cincinnati Reds and their offense. So these are the 5, I think, to me, really stick out as far as matchups for Week 12. Mike, what do you think?
Dude, first, great list. I mean, obviously the alpha dog of this list, I think, is Zach Wheeler. Zach Wheeler, 2-star pitcher, playing against Miami, playing against the Mets. Kind of did some research, Doug, this week. Miami, kind of a mid-market team, right? Mid-market average as well. They're right in the middle of average, pretty decent. But the thing is that they lack is power, which is good for Wheeler because Wheeler's given up 6 home runs this year out of his 8 starts. So almost a home run per game. He's not going to have to worry about that too much unless Kyle Storage is starting to turn it around. Who knows? But this is a must start. Even the Mets, for instance, right? Second to last in average. They have a really hard time hitting for contact. Obviously, rough year so far this year for the Mets. So just kind of like I said, alpha dog matchups for Wheeler, just like a no set, just put a smile on your face because you probably get 2 wins. The way the Phillies are playing right now, it's just an awesome, awesome week. Same thing kind of with Gerrit Cole. The nice thing with Gerrit Cole is that he's playing a young White Sox team. Only Benintendi, only Randall Grichuk, only have at-bats against them. No one's placed Cole. If you've never seen Cole before, you're in for an experience. So I think he's going to smash against the White Sox. And then against the Reds, again, they're kind of going through some things. Ellie De La Cruz, obviously, on the IL this week. They probably even the next couple weeks as well. It sounds like he's not going to come back for a little bit. But for the most part, Reds not really hitting that well. A lot of strikeouts. Gerrit Cole strikes out guys. That's what he likes to do. So another great matchup there as well. Like you said, Doug, since Bryce Miller's come back, one of the hottest pitchers in baseball. I could not believe the numbers when I was reading off those today. So incredible start against Boston. We know what Boston's about this year. They're just not it. Very bottom market hitting team, second fewest runs in the league. So they're not going to score a lot of runs. The game's at home for Seattle as well. So it's just a favorable matchup for Bryce Miller. And then, like you said, man, the Cam man, just killing it this year. Obviously, last couple starts have been a little up and down, but we see what he is. He throws 100 miles an hour. It seems like he's got great command, great demeanor. Against a Reds team like we just talked about, great matchup. So I think any of these guys are very favorable in your leagues.
So the next list that I'm about to show you is something that we might see a little differently as far as eye to eye is concerned, which makes it more fun. I think it's a very controversial list, but there's like I said, like I always say, there's rhyme and reason why these people are on this list, right? So here are some of the ones that I think are tougher matchups. And again, I don't want to toot our own horn, but we did say Gerrit Cole. We did have a couple people on this list last week that really did have tough matchups and ended up either getting a no decision or a loss. So of course, first and foremost, I had to put the man on the top. He's probably the most controversial person on this list. I'm talking about Red starting pitcher Chase Burns. Yes, he's a 2-star pitcher. Yes, he's Monday against the Mets at home. Yes, he's Sunday against the Yankees in Yankee Stadium, right? Amazing year so far. 72 innings pitched. 70 innings pitched, 88 strikeouts, a 2.1 ERA. He's giving you 16.3 points to start. He's a top 5 pitcher. So you say to yourself, why would I want to sit a top 5 pitcher? I'm not saying you sit him. I'm just saying just be cognizant that, the Mets line, that Mets start for him looks pretty good, right? It's the one in Yankee Stadium that I'm a little torn on, okay? His last 3 starts, he's given up 2 earned, only pitching 6 innings once in those 3 starts. And they should have been easy starts. He should have gotten a quality start in all three of them. He was at home versus Kansas City. He was at San Diego. He was at the Mets. I look and say, 6 innings with the win should be easy, but it wasn't for those three. He should have went 3-0 on paper. He's approaching career high in innings. He's at 72 2/3. He pitched 109 innings last year. You're talking about 5 or 6 more starts. And once that happens, this Reds team really has to consider what their next steps are. They're going to shut him down. They're going to limit him. They're going to skip some pitches. Like I said, I like the matchup versus the Mets, but I am hesitant at Yankee Stadium. I think that could be a rough start for him. Even the Mets, they surprise you once in a while. You've seen Bo Bichette hit 2 home runs in a game out of nowhere. What Soto is going to show up? Is it the one from 2 weeks ago that was hitting 350 with 4 home runs, or is it going to be the one that just hit 1 home run yesterday in the last week? It's all going to be tough. Next, I'm a little more comfortable with this one. Miami starting pitcher Max Meyer. He's playing in Philly. Then Sunday he's playing at home versus the San Francisco Giants. Again, a great year. 6-0, 79 innings pitched, 86 strikeouts, a 2.85 ERA. He's a top 10 starting pitcher. But last few starts, 5 earned at New York against the Mets, 2 earned at home versus Arizona, going just 5 1/3. I feel like this start Monday at Philly could be a little shaky for him. I don't mind Sundays, like I said, with the Giants, but he's playing Philly. He's versus Zach Wheeler. That's a great matchup. This would be kind of something I'd steer clear of, at least in daily leagues. In weekly leagues, yeah, you start him, but in daily leagues, I might be a little hesitant to kind of pull him back against Zach Wheeler at Philly. Next up, Tampa Bay starting pitcher Shane McClanahan. He's playing Wednesday in Dodger Stadium. We all know what type of matchup that's going to be. Pretty good year for him. 6-3, 60 innings pitched, 59 strikeouts, a 2.85 ERA. He's giving you kind of a 9.9 a start, which is not great, but it's not horrible. Don't let the numbers fool you, though. His last few starts, 4 earned versus Baltimore at home, 4 earned at Miami. He's gone only 6 innings once in his last 12 starts. I think that trend continues. Dodgers grind pitchers. I don't think Shane goes 6 in this one, which, again, is in L.A. Next up, this is a fun one, too. Blue Jays starting pitcher Kevin Gausman. Friday, he's playing in Chicago versus the Cubs. The real question is going to be, has Gausman fallen back down to earth after that terrific start to the year? I think he has. Listen, his numbers over the year, great. 4-4, 80 innings pitched, 79 strikeouts, a 3.7 ERA. Man, first month of the year, this guy was sub-2. It's giving you about 10 a start, average. Last few starts, 4 earned at Atlanta, 4 earned at home versus Baltimore. On paper, you say, well, it's a struggling Cubs team, and I totally agree with you. But they're at home against a pitcher who's struggling himself. You give me the Cubs in this matchup, especially since Bregman just hit a home run the other game, a couple days ago. Maybe you're hoping that might turn into something where they'll gain some traction and win a couple more games like they did a few months back. And then last but not least, another crazy one that I like to put on here. Jose Soriano, Thursday at the A's. I was going to say at the A's. He's played in Vegas. Talk about another guy who's come back down to earth, right? Great year, 7-4, 2.9 ERA. He's giving you 12.8 a start. He's a top 10. Let's not forget, he was the number 1 pitcher the entire month of the first month of the year, right? He got the win against the Dodgers, but I think that was more of credit to his offense than his performance. Gave up 4 earned. The only reason they won that game was because, Emmett Sheehan just got crushed, right? Last few starts, 3 earned at the Tigers in Detroit, 2 earned and 4 1/3 versus the Rockies, and then you got 4 earned in LA with the Dodgers. I just think this A's team, they're clicking right now. You got Jacob Wilson, who's going to come back at some point. They're thinking maybe Monday, and that's even more scarier because he was a cog in that lineup. He hitting almost 300, just really turned things around. I would just be weary of starting Soriano in Vegas where the ball's been flying out. He's given up 4 home runs in his last 3 games. Kurtz is starting to heat up. Tyler Soderstrom looks every bit of a fantasy asset as a first base outfield eligible hitter. I would kind of just stand clear. But again, I wouldn't hate the allure of starting him. I'm just saying it's a tough matchup. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, to piggyback on your A's comment there too, Doug, they are playing really good baseball lately. I mean, they were in Vegas last week. I don't know what it was in the air, but man, there were definitely runs in the air. That's for sure. Football, them and Milwaukee, but it's just good to see them starting to hit the ball again like they were last year. We knew they were a top 5 hitting team in the AL last year. Pretty surprising, but good to see them getting back to rhythm. But just to bounce on Soriano real quick, April feels like a long time ago. That was a really good month for him, obviously a career month, but we really have to set the expectation to what he was when he was drafted, right? We picked him late in drafts, and then even in some leagues, undrafted. And you got to treat him as is as that point right now. I think that peak, I don't know if that's actually going to come back or not. So to have him on this list, I think the last few starts, like you mentioned, Doug, I think that's more of what you're going to see with a Soriano. He's going to give up balls, long balls. He's going to only go 5-6 innings, and he's going to give up some runs at times. And again, he plays for an Angels team that's just not playing really good baseball overall. But let's go back to the top of the list. Chase Burns, I'm on that boat, Doug. Like you said, it's a little controversy that you threw in there. I'm in that boat of I'd probably roll the dice. The thing I noticed with Chase Burns is that he hasn't given up more than 2 runs in any outing at this point. Sometimes he gets pulled, 5 1/3. But the nice thing with him, too, strikeouts are there. And then also he's got to start against the Mets. Mets aren't playing really good baseball right now. I feel like it's just like boom or bust with them. And I just think Chase Burns can definitely sneak a win in there, even with a lackluster Cincinnati offense at the way they're going right now. Max Meyer, Doug, I'm a Max Meyer guy. I'm a Max man. And, Philly's been on a tear lately. And like you said, it's against Zach Wheeler. So there's a lot of red flags already right there alone. Even though Max Meyer's been playing really, really good baseball, that's a really tough Phillies team. So I can understand in daily leagues, if you don't want to play him, don't play him. You got another start at the end of the week against the Giants. And I found it pretty funny, Doug, that they have the second highest league average, but they have bottom 5 OBS, which is crazy. So I think that has a lot to do with Luis Arias bumping that up because of his average. But in saying that, though, it's just a boom or bust team, right? So I think that's going to be a pretty good start for Max Meyer. Hopefully he pitches well against Philly where he doesn't need to bounce back in San Francisco or against San Francisco. But, again, like you said, caution, right? That's what we're here for. That's what we want to tell you. We want to tell you what's going on. Shane McClanahan, all you had to say, Doug, was just at L.A. Man, tough matchup. Tough matchup. The Rays lately haven't been playing that great, 5-5 in their last 10 games. But really, though, from what I'm seeing, their bullpen has not been producing as well. They've been giving up a lot of runs lately. So even if McClanahan did have a lead, you don't know if that lead's going to be held as of the last couple of weeks, the way they've been playing. And again, he's got some rust himself, right, coming back from the injury from last year that took him all out. And he's going to go through some transition periods. He's looked really good for a little bit. And now he's kind of starting to go into that 5-inning limit again. So, again, precaution with that. I'm totally okay with you benching him this week. Kevin Gausman, bit of surprise when I saw him on the list, but I can totally understand. Last 2 starts, 4 earned run in each of those games. And it's funny because I have more faith in Kevin Gausman bouncing back later in the year than I would with a Max Meyer, like you just said. I'm on the flip side of that. I look at a guy like a Max Meyer that's developing because he's a younger guy, and then you also got a guy like a Kevin Gausman who's been there, done that. He knows what he needs to do. He needs to obviously a strikeout pitcher, but he can't be leaving those balls over the plate. But a game against the Cubs, like you said, are the Cubs starting to turn around a little bit? I'm 50-50 with it. I'm rooting for him. But again, I think I might roll the dice with Kevin Gausman, especially if you have 6 or 7-man rotations and daily leagues. I don't think there's a wrong answer there. And then, like you said, Soriano, April was a long time ago, my friend.
Oh, I'm glad you agree with me. I mean, I've always said, we always talk about, selling high. And I think in that April, the advice I gave to a lot of Soriano owners was, hey, listen, this is the ceiling. You draft this guy so late. He's worth so much now. You could get an amazing player back for him because he's going to fall back down to earth. And unfortunately, he has. But it is what it is, right? So let's start looking at the other thing. Let's start looking at matchups, right, for this upcoming week. And there are some really good must-start lineups that I really do like. And when I say must-start lineups, I mean, obviously you're going to start your studs on any lineup whatsoever. But with these matchups that you see, this might give you maybe an opportunity to pick up a couple people that might be like, 20% owned, 25% owned, and start them if you're looking for help. If you have a struggling corner infield or something and you want to pick up a player for one of these teams, I would probably do that. Now, let me run down the list one more time. This is, I mean, I think they're pretty good, right? I mean, you got the Yankees, they're 3 games. They're at home, all 3 games versus the White Sox, 3 games versus the Reds. Currently fighting first for the AL East against Tampa Bay. I mean, obviously the offense is still really trying to find its identity now that Judge is going to be gone for a, undisclosed amount of time. But Ben Rice is a stud. Goldie looks like he might have turned the clock back a little bit from his Diamondback days, his MVP days. Bellinger's fine. It's a streaky lineup outside of those 3, but, if Jazz and even like Spencer Jones can get hot, they could make a run. And like I said, at home for 6 games, there's a good chance that run happens sooner rather than later. And as we talked about, the Athletics. Now, this is a team that I would really go heavy on this week because they're playing 7 games. They are them, and then the Angels are the only 2 teams that are playing 7 games. So they're playing every single game this upcoming week. I don't know if I would play a ton of Angels players, but I would definitely play a ton of Athletics players. So they got 3 games versus the Pirates at home, 4 games versus the Angels at home. The AL West looks more and more competitive as the year goes on, right? There's only a few games that separate the A's, the Rangers, Seattle, and even Houston is starting to make a little push to the top. 7 games, all in Vegas. The ball flies out. Kurtz and Soderstrom leading the pack. Jacob Wilson's back. I love this team this upcoming week. If only they had a good starting rotation, they'd probably be in first. But still, one of the most underrated offenses in baseball today. That's my opinion. Next up, St. Louis, the Cards. They got 3 games at home versus the Padres, 3 games versus the Royals in Kansas City, another hot team, currently second in the Central. They swept the Reds a few series ago. They're going up against 2 teams that have not had any good luck with their starting rotations. Herrera looks good. Burleson, Walker, they all look great. I think that team keeps it going week 12 against the Padres and a really struggling Kansas City rotation and bullpen. And then on the flip side of that, I do have the Pittsburgh Pirates in here. 3 games at the A's, 3 games at the Rockies. Now, I mean, talk about a team that just went flat after playing 2 games. They played 2 of baseball's best teams back-to-back. They played the Braves. They played the Dodgers. They got swept by the Braves. They actually came out and made a really nice comeback against the Dodgers just Thursday. These matchups against the A's and the Rockies should get them back on their feet. I do have them and the A's on this list, but that's because I like both offenses, and both teams from a pitching perspective have been struggling. I think these are high-scoring matchups, honestly. I mean, Pittsburgh Pirates have one of the most – them and the A's, really underrated offenses, right? I mean, what a year for Brian Reynolds, Reiner Hearn, Brandon Lau, even Spencer Horwitz we're going to talk about later on. I mean, this offense should pound these teams. I mean, both offenses. I mean, this is a hitter-friendly ballpark. Both of them, the A's and Colorado. No excuse. I would get any of those players and any of those lineups in there. And then last but not least, I do have the Diamondbacks. They got 3 games at home versus the Angels, 3 games at home versus the Twins. I know it's early in the season, but these are must-win games for the Diamondbacks. Playoff teams win the games they're supposed to win, and at home for the next 6 against these teams that have been struggling from a pitcher's perspective, they have to win these games. I mean, they're fighting for a wild card spot between the Padres, the Nationals. The offense looks like it's ready to erupt at times. Marte hit 500 a couple weeks ago. He's gone cold a bit. Corbin Carroll, he looks like he's starting to see that power stroke coming back. I mean, they should be able to win both series. I'm not going to say they're going to sweep all of them, but they should win the series at least for both of them. I just think if there's a time to make a move and win the games you need to win, these are the 2 for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, I think Diamondbacks need to start hitting the ball, and this is a great week, an opportunity for them against the Angels and Twins to do that, especially both at home. I mean, Kenton Marte looks like he's pretty much back. We talked about him a little bit last week. But they got some talent over there. It looks like Pagano's starting to turn around too a little bit. There's some opportunity there in Arizona. I'm just not too high on them because of the whole division that they play in and stuff. But again, it's not about where they're playing. It's about this coming week. So I mean, obviously great picks there. Back to the top though with New York, man. You thought they were going to lack without Judge, but really they're still there. Bellinger, we said, is it going to affect him in that lineup? Are they going to treat him differently or not? No, absolutely not. Bellinger's a stud. He's just, top 5 outfielder in fantasy. That's just a set and forget type of guy with great matchups, like we said. I do think they're going to be playing, Davis Martin, in the series against the White Sox.
Yeah.
That should be fun to watch, right? A really good Yankees team. I was looking at their run differential. They're like plus 124. Like, they're still smashing. They're a very good baseball team. So I think against the White Sox, I think there's going to be a reality check with that young crew over there. A lot of young guys on that team. I think a veteran team's going to come in there, or they come to New York, and they're going to maybe get a little whooping. I don't know. That's my opinion. We'll see. And then, again, we talked about the Reds. Pitching right now with the Reds, really up and down. With Lodolo coming back, and it's just not like he's crushing it right now. And Chase Burns, like I said, he pitches great, but doesn't go too deep into games right now. I think they're pretty much trying to limit him. Obviously, his first full year is this year, so I think they're kind of going with that approach. But I think it's a great week for New York. Jazz has been hitting the ball well, it seems like, with the power. And then you mentioned Spencer Jones. We'll talk about him a little bit later. Maybe as a streamer. So we'll talk about that. But the Athletics. With the Athletics, though, right? Man, like we said, they're pretty much back. Kurtz looks amazing. Like, I think he's the most fun leadoff batter in baseball. He can hit 40-plus home runs. He's a great contact hitter, gets on base. He's very unique, He's just not your prototypical guy, but he gets the job done at the same time. Tyler Soderstrom, you and I go back and forth with him. It looks like he's starting to turn a corner a little bit as well. So a lot of different options, I think, for the Athletics. If you have Athletics in your team, again, playing against the Pirates, playing against the Angels, kind of two mid-pitching tier teams, unless they don't see schemes. So going to St. Louis, you know how I feel about St. Louis, Doug. This team is fun. This is a JJ Witherhole looking healthy again, starting to score more points again. Jordan Walker, his bat hasn't been not on fire since the season started. Alec Burleson's been great. Just an overall great team. I just think they're really doing something special there, and I do like their pitching as well. Padres have been terrible this year, really offensively, just off year for them for some reason. Don't know what's going on over there. Jackson Merrill, Tatis, you name them, they're just not hitting over there. And then same thing with Kansas City. Kansas City, bottom 5 hitting team in the league right now. Not playing good baseball offensively. A lot of guys are lacking over there. We talked about Vinny P last week lacking. Jackie Paglione. His power is starting to hold up. A couple home runs in the game this week, but again, just not what you expected from him this year. And then you only got Bobby Witt, again, Miguel Garcia, MVP of the WBC, kind of going a little, not that great so far. So great matchups there for St. Louis. Like you said, Pittsburgh, one of the more surprising teams this year. I think they're actually a top 5 hitting team. There's so many guys. They just got O'Hearn back. Looks like he's not going to miss a beat. He's already got a couple home runs coming off of the IL. And then you also got, Brandon Lowe that's still over there, still crushing it at second base. What a value pick he's been so far to this point. And then O'Neal Cruz. Wow. Really kind of having an outliner year. We know him for more of his strikeouts and inconsistency at the plate, but clearly putting it together, kind of like an Ellie De La Cruz of 2023, as I put it. Playing really good baseball. So continue to start those guys. Great matchups this week against the A's.
I would say though, Cruz did go on the IL today.
Oh, you're kidding me?
Yeah, he went on the IL, so he's not going to be available for a couple weeks.
Bummer. Well, that's a shame.
Even with that said, though, I still think they're just great matchups.
Yeah, and then like you had Brian Reynolds as well, having a real great bounce back year so far. So. Any of those guys and a lot of these guys that are on these teams, I really feel comfortable starting.
Yeah, I totally agree. So let's hop into the fun part, man. Let's talk some streamers. Let's talk this week's streamers. And actually, let me rewind it first. Let me go over some injuries this past week. And, I like to talk injuries, and that way when you talk streamers, maybe you can pick up some of those guys to fill in some of these injuries. That's all. That's the point. That's the perspective I'm getting from this. It's not really a crazy list. You got Braves outfielder Ronald Acuna Jr. He was placed on the 10-day IL. He's got that strained left hamstring. He missed over 2 weeks with the same injury, but it was only a grade 1, and that was in May. It's unclear what grade this is. The team hasn't released that yet, but they're optimistic. It should only take a few weeks. So a late June return looks to be in the cards for that. Dodgers catcher Will Smith landed on his 10-day IL. He's got neck inflammation. Sounds like they'll give him a week off, then they'll ramp up period before being put back onto the lineup. Should take a little longer than the minimum, but again, a late June return. I did put Shohei Ohtani. I know he's just day-to-day. It looks like it's going to be nothing. It's left knee inflammation. The only reason I put him on here, and they tell you not to be concerned, is I would just monitor this because that's the same knee he had surgery on with the Angels a couple years back. So I wouldn't be surprised if down the stretch they sit him more, they skip his starts a little more, only because of the injury. They want him healthy, and I don't blame them. If there's no need to have him out there, there's no need to. And then last but not least, I do have Pirates outfielder O'Neal Cruz. He landed on a 10-day IL. He has a couple small fractures in his left hand. They're saying he should miss about a month. Again, that would have him back around mid-July. But those are some pretty big bats that you're going to be missing. Although Ohtani's, like I said, that's more of a monitoring situation. But still, you're losing Acuna. Will Smith was probably a top 5 catcher drafted, although he's not playing like one. Just a couple things to keep in mind when you're setting your lineups.
Just a quick note, Doug, on Ohtani there. Teams are never going to tell you the truth to the public. They're never going to tell you the full truth. We've learned that in the past with injuries. So, fantastic call out, just to monitor that.
Well, it kind of reminds me of back in a couple, years and years ago with Kyle Tucker and Yordan Alvarez with that whole medical team with the Houston Astros. Exactly. Same thing, Little did you know the guy had a fracture in his leg. They put him on a 15-day IL, Tucker specifically. I think Yordan was the hand, right? It was broken, and they didn't think it was. It's just wild. And a team that's in first place, especially if they're going to be double-digit lead later on in the year, they're not going to risk sending these guys out if they don't need to. The goal is World Series or bust for this team, obviously. So why risk it? That's all. Yeah. Something to monitor, especially down the stretch. That's all I'm saying.
I'm saying might lose at bats, might lose a couple of starts. Who knows?
And then, so on the flip side of that, here are a couple streamers, and there's really I like a lot of them. Let's back that up for a second. Let's remember last week we had a couple good streamers on here. We had Canzone from Seattle.
Yeah,
he hit a home run. Thursday he hit a home run. He's been on fire.
Had 5 points, I think, on Monday.
Yeah. Great pickup. So hopefully one of these guys, all 3 of them should probably be pretty good pickups. Here's the list I have. Let me go through them all. Let me give you some reason as to why they're on this list. And then, Mike, you can tell me if I'm wrong, if I'm right, if I should fly a kite or continue. All right. We talked about the Pirates. We talked about who they're going to be playing. This is their first baseman, Spencer Horwitz. He's only 12% owned. Again, 3 games at the A's in Vegas, 3 games in Colorado. He's averaging 2.5 a start. He's hitting over 300 his last 7 games. He's been one of the better surprises in fantasy. He's got more walks than strikeouts. And although he's playing away, they're both hitter-friendly parks. So I definitely take a streamer on him. Take a look. The guy plays first base. That's a kind of a tough position to fill. Definitely something to watch out for. Cardinals outfielder Lars Nootbaar. He's only 6% owned. 3 games versus the Padres, 3 games at Kansas City versus the Royals. He's just got back from injury. He's playing every day for the most part. I'm sure he might sit one of those games just because he's still fresh, right? He's not going to wow you, but he's a consistent bat. Not a lot of strikeouts. He has 2 home runs in his first week. He's averaging, of course, it's early. It's about 3 points a game. That'll probably go down just a bit, but still good pitching matchups that he should be able to go and rake with, right? It's a team that's running right now. There shouldn't be too much pressure on him to perform. I think this would be a really good pickup for the outfield, especially if you're looking to fill that Ronald Acuna spot, right? And then another guy that could fill it, Yankees outfielder Spencer Jones. He's only 5% owned. Again, we talked about the matchups. 3 games at home versus the White Sox, 3 games at home versus the Cincinnati Reds. If there is someone that might be just a little happy about Aaron Judge's injury, I think it might be Spencer Jones. I mean, he's seen every day at bats now, all because of this injury. Kind of opened the door. He hit his first home run the other day. He's got a stolen base. He's hitting around 280 for the year. Again, still trying to get on his feet, still trying to figure things out. But, I mean, as you can tell with the strikeouts, he does have about 20 early in the season for just a small amount of bats. But he'll be at home 6 games. With that lineup we just broke down for you, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes away with a home run or two for next week.
Yeah, Spencer Jones, man. This is a guy who's been talked about for years at this point, right? He's been talked about as one of their top prospects coming up. He's finally made it, and there's some already caution with him. The caution is the man is a walking strikeout. The man just loves to strike out. But in saying that, though, right, there is still value with him. Like you said, he's batting 280 right now. That's nothing to sniff at. 280 is a really good average, especially if you're in a categories league. And this is where I kind of put him in this right now. A daily categories league, if you don't have to worry about average, strikeouts, this is kind of a great fit. He hits a power. He plays the New York Yankee team. Because of Judge's injury, because of Jason Dominguez's injury, he's going to be playing a lot of baseball this year for the Yankees now. And he's going to get a really good sample size, and I think he's going to be valuable in daily leagues because he's going to be playing every single day. He's going to power. I don't know what his stolen bases look like. I think he's a pretty big guy. I haven't really checked that out yet, but there is a lot of value, I think, with Spencer Jones if you don't have to worry about strikeouts. If you have to worry about strikeouts, a little bit more caution, especially in weekly leagues, because that could be a killer. I love that you had Lance Nootbaar on here, Doug. I was looking at him last week. He batted leadoff a lot while J.J. Witherholt was injured when he was day-to-day, and he looked great at the plate. He's finally 100% healthy. We talked about how much we love this Cardinals team right now. This is a guy that he's been in this organization for years at this point, and I think it's a great fit for this team as well. So if you can still get him in leagues, again, Padres and Royals, like this is a really good streaming option, I think, this week. And then last but not least, Spencer Horwitz. Wow. Can you believe we're talking so much Pirates baseball this year? Who would have thought?
I love it.
Unbelievable. Spencer's been great. Obviously, with O'Hearn out, he had some more playing time, and he produced when he was playing. Hits a power, in for runs, like we talked about. Sneaky top 5 offense this year with the Pirates. So I'm all about it, Doug. If you have an option at first base that you need to fill or an outfielder for Spencer Horwitz, this is probably the number 1 pickup this week, I think, if he's out there in a lot of leagues. I think he might be the number 1 guy.
Thank you. I'm glad you like my picks, Mike. Now let's see if you like some of these tough matchup ones. I'm just kidding. Let's talk streamer picks now for pitching, okay? This is going to be a little more – I think this is a little more fun because pitchers are hit or miss, right? They're going to either perform and give you a ton of points that 1 or 2 starts they make, or you're going to fall flat on your face wishing that you never started these guys. Unfortunately, this week for me in fantasy, I'm falling on my face, but I think some of these guys for next week might have something to say. And again, rhyme and reason, hear me out. A lot to talk about, a lot to break down with these guys. So I have Diamondback starting pitcher, relief pitcher Ryan Nelson, 14% owned. Monday at home versus the Angels. We talked about this already. Sunday at home versus the Twins. Not an amazing year, a 4.6 ERA. He's only giving you about 7 points a start. He's got 72 innings pitched. He's got 55 strikeouts. That's the bad. Now, the good. 7 innings, 2 earned, 3 strikeouts versus the Dodgers. He got the no decision. 8 innings, 1 earned, 3 strikeouts versus the Rockies. He got the win. He pitches much better at home than he does away. Both his wins came at home. And look, he's got 2 home starts. I would not hate putting him in the lineup, especially in that relief pitcher's role if you have 2 spots and you want to gain a couple extra starts. I don't think he's gonna kill you. I think he's gonna do more good for you than harm. And then the same thing with Dodgers starting pitcher, relief pitcher Eric Lar. 2% owned. Monday, he's pitching at home versus Tampa. Again, numbers not good, right? 2-5, 52 innings pitched, 36 strikeouts, a 5.4 ERA. Listen to this. He's only giving you 2.2 points to start. That's horrible. That is horrible. So I guess the question is going to be, well, Doug, why would you recommend him to me, right? Well, hold on. He plays for the Dodgers now. And ever since he's played for the Dodgers, he hasn't given up more than 2 earned to start. 6 innings, 1 earned, 4 strikeouts versus the Rockies with the win. 4 2/3, 2 earned, 1 K at Arizona against the Diamondbacks with the no decision. 5 2/3, 2 earned, 5 strikeouts at Pittsburgh versus the Pirates with another no decision. I think this change of scenery has really done him well. And with that offense behind him, I'd kind of really take a gamble putting him in that relief spot at home against Tampa Bay. That's all. I mean, like I said, you look at his overall numbers, they look horrible, but he was so bad with Toronto. His numbers now with the Dodgers, so much better. So much better. And then last but not least, I got old man Martin Perez from the Braves here, 7% owned Wednesday at home versus the Dodgers. Pretty good year, right? He's always been like a real quiet type of pitcher. He reminds me of like a Charlie Mortensen without the strikeouts. 4-3 on the year, 56 innings pitched, 47 strikeouts, 85 points. He's giving you about 7 to start, which isn't good. Hey, he's won his last few starts. That was at Cincinnati, at home versus the Pirates. He pitches behind a really good offense. He's only gone 6 innings just once all season in all 14 starts. But this could be a source for a cheap win at home versus the Giants. Might not get you the quality start, but I think he'll do enough to at least get you the win if you want a little cheap win in there for you.
Man, who doesn't like a cheap win, Doug? Right? You know, like a 5 innings, 4 Ks, gets the win, gets you 13 points. You're like, oh, it's better than nothing, right? Option. Who knows? He can go 6. He can go 7. That's the type of guy he is. He has done it before in the past. I mean, you nailed Eric Lawyer, right? New home, new opportunity with LA. And I don't know about you, Doug, but I don't like to, preach and not practice at the same time, right? I'm going to do this. I'm going to start him in my relief spot in a league. It's a 14-team league, and it's pitcher heavy, but I'm going to put him in there. I'm going to say, hey, Monday, Tampa Bay, that sounds like a pretty good matchup to me. There's other options, but I think he might have the best option from my roster. But again, second life, being in LA, and also with that skyrocket ERA that you were talking about, that 5 ERA, a lot of that came with Toronto, right? And I think with the Dodgers, his floor is not as bad as it is, in Toronto because of all the support that they had, whether if it's long relief, bullpen. Like I think the Dodgers pitching as a whole, they have options. So they're not going to leave a guy like a Lore out there to rot, at times because they need to secure they're already on a 6-man rotation, right? They already have guys that are usually fresh. So I just think that that floor is just not as bad as it used to be when he was with Toronto. And then, like you said, Ryan Nelson, great pickup. I think 2 starter this week. So, like you said, relief spot eligible if you're out of a jam or something like that. It's an option. And like you said, the matchups look great for him this week.
Yeah, I mean, he pitches at home. That's a good spot for him. And then, last but not least, let me just go over some updates like we had talked about before we actually started getting down to business with the show. Some good, some bad, right? Some I might pick up and just put in that role, and here's one of them. You got Orioles closer Ryan Helsley. He struck out the side in his first rehab outing. The Orioles aren't sure how many more outings he'll go, but it looks like he should be back in a week or so, maybe 10 days. He looked great before the injury, 7 saves, 2.5 ERA. Pretty sure he's only owned in like half the league. So if you're looking for a good closer, now's the time to maybe pick one up and stash him until he comes back and then start him in week 13. Next up, Red Sox starting pitcher Garrett Crochet. He had a lat strain. It's a lot worse than they thought. They have no idea when he's going to be able to throw again. And with the lost season the Red Sox are having, I don't think he's going to be rushed back anytime soon. I mean, at this point, I would be surprised if you see him late July, maybe early August. It's a mess. Mets shortstop Francisco Lindor, he could begin a rehab assignment next week. He's been ramping up baseball activities this week. The team just wants to see how his calf responds. If all goes well, he should be back the end of June. And A's shortstop Jacob Wilson, we talked about him already. He had a really good debut. He went 1-3, a double, a run scored in his latest rehab assignment. He looks ready to make his way back to the big league club this week. although not entirely sure what day. They're thinking he could be called back Monday. In which case, if you do own him and he's called back Monday, I would probably get him in the lineup. If not, and the roster's locked, if it's a weekly lineup, you'd have to wait until next year. I don't think I'd be comfortable putting him in if he's not up by Monday. And then you got Reds starting pitcher Hunter Green. He was cleared to throw a bullpen session a week ago. If all goes smooth, should begin a rehab assignment and could be back before the All-Star break. A little surprise. And then last but not least, I know we talked about him last week on the show, Astros starting pitcher Hunter Brown. He's going to make his big league debut June 15th to face the Tigers at home in Houston. Listen, I usually don't like starting players, specifically pitchers, the first week they come back from injury. But he's been throwing hard. He's been dominating minor league players. Of course, minor league versus major league bats are vastly different. I completely understand that. But this Tigers offense, I mean, I think it's a pretty good matchup for him. He's stretched out. He throws hard. I would start him. I would.
I think I would too, 100%. Like you said, he's been throwing hard. His pitch count's going to be up. And I don't know. I didn't look at the schedule beforehand, but is he a potential two-starter? Do they have a day off Monday, or do they got the day off Wednesday or Thursday? Potential two-starter. Let's just put it at that at this point. I would still play him. Honestly,
their pitcher yesterday. What's his name? Humber. I always forget his name. He's day to day with an injury. So I feel like if that's a significant injury and they skip his start, then yeah, he probably would be a two-star pitcher.
Yeah, like you said, he's been throwing hard. Pitch counts up. They're desperately wanting him back. He's their ace. He's their guy. So it'd be great to see him come back and just be like lights out. But like you say, he's probably got some rust to knock off first. So, just proceed with caution. That's all. I mean, who would have thought about Garrett Crochet? That was not in the cards, right? We didn't expect that. Hopefully it's better than what it sounds like, I guess. Sounds terrible, to be honest. But as a Red Sox fan, it's tough to even talk about it because just of the whole season. But again, just another black eye for the Sox, really not replacing that. Luckily, they got some depth. Jacob Wilson, man, he would be an awesome addition once he comes back. Contact hitter. It's already been a powerful team so far. A's are coming back. Who knows? That's a sneaky team right there. I always like the A's. I always liked them even growing up. So I just think that's a fun team. If they could just get some pitching on that team, that would be a lot of help. But other than that, though, yeah, I mean, it's when you hear these injuries, you just don't plan for them, right? When it comes to fantasy, it's not something that you do plan for. You can have contingency plans, but you can't replace a guy like a Crochet. It's just like it's impossible. You can't replace like a Judge. You can't replace when a Soto goes down. Like those guys are almost irreplaceable. So it's just, it's one of the worst parts to talk about in fantasy, Doug. No one talks about injuries because it's the worst part of the whole thing. It's the worst part of the whole shit.
But Mike, that's why we're here. We're here to give out general advice to help you guys win your week every week. And hopefully you do. Right?
That's it.
So that's the show for Mikey V. I'm Doug. This is Bourbon and Ball. Make sure to subscribe, like us, give us some love, all that fun stuff. Make sure to catch us live Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern. We're on YouTube. We're on FSAN. You can come in, ask us some questions. We can break down some stuff for you. Again, we're here to help you. Hopefully this episode has helped you out as far as coming up for Week 12 matchups, looking at some players a little differently than you might have before. Wish you the best. We'll see you next week.